All right. So here we are. The most weird one. The Occult Slayer.
Oh yeah, this one to me is very easy. To me, it's um amazing.
You think it's amazing.
I think it's amazing,
All right, so what's the
or at
justification?
least good. Okay, well, the reason why I can't put it in absolute god tier is actually the tier fours.
Oh.
The
Oh,
tier
wow.
fours to me
Yes.
are
Oh my goodness. Those are not good.
yeah, yeah. It actually is the only thing bringing it down because the tier fives are fantastic.
Do the tier fours bring
Well,
it
one
down?
of them is
Oh yeah.
the lack of tier fours is just
I think
it's
that's the
obnoxious.
biggest
The tier
problem, yeah.
threes aren't even that good. But Arcane Encumbrance is not bad. Bond of Retribution is going to be good later for you. This is the Barbarian tanking tree, and Barbarian tanking is a thing that's solid.
Hmm. Yeah.
The amount of HP, the amount of spell resistance, the amount of magic resistance, the amount of heal amp, the amount of innate damage reduction.
This one kind of reminds me of
Occult,
Ninja Spy now, actually. It really comes
occult metal
online
line.
later, 1820. Really
Yeah,
comes online
yeah.
for tanking.
Early game, it's always good with things like parrying bond and stuff. But yeah, level 12, it's going to really once you start taking those tier fives, because you get like occult metal line, bond of destruction, which is 10% quality, as well as making your multiplier crap work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decent tree.
Yeah, I think it belongs like low tier amazing. Because like it doesn't do anything. You don't really act on anything. Like you have the
But it's
heal
cool
at top
you get
tier.
like an overwhelming crit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like +1 to threat and multiplier and an overwhelming crit in the tree. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. No, I think it's amazing, but I don't think it's better than any of the other amazings on this list.
No,
I
think
that's
it's
fair.
equal.
Yeah. Oh, here
the
we
next one.
are. Oh God, yeah, Daddy. This is the Pale Master. All right, so how supremely god tier are we making this?
This is definitely S tier.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of survive this gives any character that has access to it is just so good.
Alrighty.
The amount of just free immunities you get is just so good. Like,
oh yes.
Negative, like getting negative levels or drowning. Like there's so many things you just passively get.
They're able to get the highest incorp as well because Pale Masters can get 25%, which, as far as I know, is the highest you can get. And I think it's tied with Tempest. Is it? Is it Tempest is tied with for incorp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, something like that. Yeah.
It's really good. 25% incorp on top of other stuff is really friggin' good.
The amount of negative amp.
Dark Discorp is the coolest factor of cool factor abilities and sucks, but apparently it's a great tanking ability.
If you take it as an active, it's decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you take it as an activated.
Yeah.
There's just so many cool things. You have options with the shrouds. It's just cool.
Yeah, and also your Skelebro becomes a real Skelebro. Like in this tree, you can summon this monster, who is actually a low-level machine. He doesn't scale up extremely well, but by then you should have all your negative stuff coming in. You got other ways of dealing with stuff.
Well, your Epic Destiny starts scaling them up pretty crazy if you wanted to. But yeah.
No, I mean, like, I love the tree. The Greater Death Aura SLA, I think, is a bit overkill, if we're going to be real. But, like, you're basically unstoppable if you take that, so I can't argue its impact.
Actually tank. You could just take a bunch of toughness feats and try to tank, and it probably would work.
I could see that. I don't think it's as impactful as Bombardier. Partly just because, like, you splash it for a little bit, but you're still mostly augmenting it with other trees.
Yeah.
But by itself, it'll still be a chunky tree. So it deserves it.
Yeah, I think it goes in the godly tier only because I feel like it has a lot of the same things that Nature's Protector. But, like, where it's very generalist, it augments something.
Yes.
I would say the thing is that what it augments is like pure survive on a class that really freaking doesn't have any other options for it.
Yeah,
and,
so
gives
its
them,
impact for Wizard is way stronger than Nature's Protector is for Druid.
Yeah, like it gives them something almost rivaling Divine Casters for survive. It's not quite as good, obviously. Like Divine Casters have fantastic healing options.
Yes,
but it's got good healing options, which is better than no healing options.
And it has tons of immunities Divine Casters wouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, here we are. The Battle of the Healers, Radiant Servant.
That is definitely in the amazing to me.
Easily.
It is just the notch below in terms of healing power, the Beacon of Hope.
I think it actually deserves the top spot on amazing too. Because it's a really good tree. It's actually very cheap now, and it's extremely powerful for what it is meant to do.
Yes.
I think it deserves that spot unquestionably.
Yeah, just everything about it. You get a lot of healing, and you heal things. So,
what an interesting debate we had on that. We just completely agreed across the field on that one.
Yeah.
So, Ravager, this one's going to be a bit of a debate.
This one to me is good.
Good. Do tell.
I can't put it in amazing because I actually think it's the weakest of if you were to tier 5 and capstone something. Not that, but that doesn't mean it's a bad tree.
Yeah.
Because Blood Strength is a very good, especially for a new player ability. It's just a very good ability, period.
I think, honestly, if I was going to say something about this, Blood Strength is probably the only reason to even take this tree. Because it's got the HP of all the other Barbarian trees, but the other ones are way better.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how good that healing scales into Reaper, so that's just kind of... I know on Elite, you're unkillable. You're just unkillable.
That's a good question, honestly, because in its Reaper capabilities, here's the thing. Does it do anything significantly better than most of these trees? I
think the thing that really brings it down the most for me is the double range, to try to augment your damage. It's not as good of a tanker tree as Occult Slayer, and even then, Occult Slayer has so much more offensive capability than this.
I want to say that Ravager is a good tier, but let's look at these other options here. We got Eldritch Knight, which synergizes perfectly with itself and the other wizard tree, Pale Master, the other one wizard tree. Arcane Archer, which shuts down an entire room. Divine Disciple, which is a cleric, so it already has amazing self-sustain and it can nuke shit. Kensai, which is just a monster. We got Air Savant, Electric, still the second best lightning, it's the second best damage type that sorcerers have. And Nature's Warrior, which is incredible single target. Does Ravager compete with that? It's got a lot of HP, but it does not have the same cool fact. I think it's actually a high average.
Yeah, I give it average.
I think it's better than TA, because it survives.
I just think double threat is just... it's so bad. It's so freaking bad.
It has 3 things in its tree. If we're talking the tree entirely...
And bullying is bad too. The bully, that's bad. All the other trees get 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, 5 times 15. To the helpless damage. Yeah, it's
and then immunity to some knockdowns. I always hate those abilities because I don't know what I'm immune to. I really don't.
Yeah. So now, I will say, I know we're going to get hate for Blood Strength on this Ravager. But let's be real. Blood Strength is the only thing you're getting from Ravager that's worth a fuck. And you know
and and as a whole, these tier 5s, it is not better than any of the other tier 5s.
It is definitely not better than Blood Tribute. Not even close. Because Blood Tribute, you've got 40 of those. Easily. You're just popping off. What is it? I don't know how much HP I calculated, but I did that before.
If you compare this to the Frenzied Berserker, which we gave the must-higher tier 5s. I mean, Focus Wide is not bad. Focused Wrath is actually better than all the tier 5s of Ravager combined.
I would say that's probably fair, yeah.
And Raging Blows is not bad.
No, it just doesn't
Tantrum
compare.
And Lash Out is... Yeah. And and the rest of the tree, the lower tiers, we won't even talk about those. Sprint Boost, Action Boost, Blood Tribute,
No, I think it belongs there.
Anywho.
It's got Blood Strength. If you want to heal off of
if
hits...
you're a tank...
Yeah. But at the same time...
I think a DPS Barbarian doesn't even splash this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it's got. You could kick at the really low levels, you can get the improved Barbarian power attack.
That's the other thing I mentioned as well. You got power attack,
Yeah,
which you
move
can get
on.
if you're an orc, or you could just avoid it and just, like, who cares? Like, grab Blood Trib first,
Yeah.
then go up the defensive tree and save yourself the hassle, and then you'll be unstoppable and you don't even need this thing.
Oh, yeah, because offensively, even the tanker tree, like the more defensive tree, has Occult Metal Line, an overwhelming crit, and +1 to threat and multiplier. It's just way better.
Exactly. So, I think it's comfortable there. All right, so this is the one that you asked me about.
It's not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one you asked me about before we started the video. Renegade Mastermaker. I didn't really have a great answer then, and I still kind of don't. Like, I like the gimmick of the tree. I think it's really cool gimmick-wise. I also think it's a really, really bad tree. But I think all the arty trees are really bad trees. So
to me, this is an average tree.
It seems like an average tree. That's where I threw it anyway. It's very specifically only for melees. So it's kind of the the arty tank tree, but it's really bad at it. But I guess the 95% and the 10% quality HP, 95% damage reduction at the tap tier, and the Radiant Force Field SLA is kind of cool.
And the Reconstruct SLA? It's a pretty good tree. I
think it's fair.
I would say it's at least average.
Yeah.
I would put it in good, but this is where my bias comes in for melees, see?
I mean, I do like it. I just don't think it's as good as any other tank tree. Yeah.
So maybe I'll have to revisit this when I do a whole life of this. Maybe that'll be my next life. I think I'd put it above Ravager,
weirdly enough. I think it's the best average so far. And the reason I put it there is all of its tier 5s are pretty decent. Some of them are amazing, but all of them are decent.
Yeah, and Reconstruct is good, and Embed Component is good.
Yeah. Like, it's a generally good tree, but not good enough to be a good tree. Like, it doesn't do what it needs to do, which is tank very well. So it's an average tree. All right. Here we are at the Sacred Defender. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that up here. We just need to decide where it's going to go.
It's going to go absolute god tier.
Oh, absolutely. Now, my question... It is better than Angel of Vengeance because this is the quintessential tank. No question.
Yes.
It is the best absolutely at its role, and better than Angel of Vengeance is even at its role. I think it's just so good.
Yes.
Is it better than COTS?
I actually think it is better than COTS at its role.
I think that's probably fair to say.
I could debate other trees for DPS. I can't debate other trees for tanking.
This is
it's not
your
actually
tanking
a discussion.
Tree.
There's this here, and then we could talk about the other tanking trees and where they fit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is your gold standard, and then the rest of them have to measure up, and they always fall short. Always.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's like, I guess, the fighter one. I could actually have a discussion of whether the fighter one's even better than the barbarian one. And I think there's a lot of argument to be made for Occult Slayer. Because offensively, it's way better.
Oh, yes.
So your leveling process is going to be just a little bit better.
But undeniably, Sacred Defender earned its spot.
Yeah, there's no discussion there. It's patched up by Paladin, but it's not even that. The tree itself is even powerful.
All right, thankfully we're getting down to the bottom of the barrel, at least for these ones. So we're down to your favorite, Season's Herald.
So this goes into the... I'm going to say not good.
I think that's fair. That's exactly where I would put it.
I can't put it in garbage because it functions. I was able to get to level 26 pretty quickly. Like, it was okay. I found epics to be more annoying. I don't like the ice version of this.
I'm going to put it as the best not good. It's easily better than Enlightened Spirit, easily better than... Actually, I'm going to put Enlightened down here, just because of its poor functionality, low level.
Yeah, because I was functioning fine from 15 to 20. Like, Hrut's Influence, and you just throw the fire spells and the healing spells. You've got decent healing. It's a team player.
Yeah, and that's another reason it's not good, is because when you have a Season's Herald, you have your problem with trying to make sure that guy doesn't just damage, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, I kid, of course. No, I think it's perfect there, and the reason I think it's perfect there is just because neither of its builds works together. You can't, like, swapping ice to fire is very janky. It doesn't really have any overlap or synergy. It's not as good as really any of the other casters, except maybe better than Earth Savant, let's be friggin' real. But
it's better than Earth Savant. But
everything's better than Earth Savant. Earth Savant is like the
setting
garbage
the bar
standard.
awful low.
Yeah.
That's setting the bar awful low.
It can work. I think that's the only thing you can really say about it. It can work. But it's not going to be nearly as enjoyable an experience as, say, just nuking things with a Fire Savant. It's probably not going to work as well together. Its spell list is usually weaker than most casters. So, like, I think Ranger is the only one that has a worse spell list, honestly.
Yes.
Shintao. Jade.
Good. It's at least good. It's probably the top tier melee CC.
I think, actually, it belongs around where Arcane Archer is, probably equal.
It has to be at least equal. It's got a battle res, and it's the best melee CC.
Actually, I would put it a little bit above, just for the battle res. Because, like, you've got your own, you got your own dagger right there. That's perfect.
Yeah. And it's got, like, I mean, it has a lot of melee CC. Like, all the Jade strikes.
And it's fun. That's the thing about it. It's actually a fun tree to play. So it ties up with Eldritch Knight in that regard, too. They're fun trees.
Yeah.
I would enjoy playing that. And I have played it myself.
That. Yep.
No, it belongs there. It's a pretty solid good. It's right in the middle of the good pack.
The best monk tree. But yeah.
but yep, that's it. All right.
There's not much else to say. Battle res.
Yeah, battle res. Awesome. All right, so Soul Eater. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw Soul Eater.
Good.
I'm gonna throw it above Air Savant good. And I think that's a fair spot for it.
Or average. One of those two. I think good is where I'd put it. Because I think Tainted Scholar is the average one.
I think that's probably the case.
We're going to get into that.
Soul Eater by itself functions very well. It doesn't need Tainted Scholar. Tainted Scholar needs some other tree to function well. Because it's not a good tree. Actually, to be fair, I think what I'll do is I'll put Tainted Scholar in below Thief Acrobat right now. I don't think that's really debatable.
Soul Eater is even where you get Cone, isn't it?
Yes. Soul Eater's where you get Cone. Soul Eater has Stricken. Soul Eater has Consume. Soul Eater has, unique mechanics. The Eldritch Wave is incredible. It's fun. It's actually really decent. Low cooldown. It's a usable functional ability. There's a lot of DCs. It's a instant killer, so you can actually play that style in with your damage, with your Eldritch Blast, giving you more options. Like, I got a lot of good stuff to say about Soul Eater. I got a lot of good stuff to say.
Yeah, I've always liked it. It's at least good. I can't put it at amazing because it ain't that good.
It's not as good a single target killer as Nature's Warrior. I will say that. At least not from my experience. But it's good. All right, and Tainted Scholar, I already kind of propped that into average.
That goes into average.
Super duper average. It is the white
Welcome
standard.
to the splash tree. It's the splash tree.
Exactly.
It's like putting a little mayonnaise on your sandwich, It's
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like put a little mayonnaise. All right. So basically the reason I would throw that in there, just for a small comment, is that it has the confusion mechanic. The dumbest mechanic in Ditto. That's its gimmick.
Yes.
And the confusion mechanic basically means that enemies will attack whoever is the next one to generate threat, because you'll confuse them and they'll drop their threat with everybody, and you're probably the next one to damage them, which means they're going to attack you again. Doesn't matter. Like, it's not a good mechanic. And Tainted Scholar otherwise is just very bare bones. It's entirely comprised of auras, but unlike Arcane Archer, which gets a little bit higher, its auras don't have the same shutdown mechanic that Arcane Archers do. So it belongs there. Lowest of the average. Oh, Spellsinger, let's drop you right up here.
Absolute god tier.
Ooh, which... It's not
I'm putting
the
that
best
one in
healer.
absolute god tier.
It's so close to Beacon, but it's not the best healer.
It's actually one of the better nukes in the current rendition of the game.
You're right. Oh, never mind. Angel of Vengeance is competing with. What do you think?
I would put Angel of Vengeance barely up above it because of them being a level 9 caster. But
I think Spellsinger is incredible. It is one of the best trees in the game.
Buffs to the songs, and as a generalist, is actually, it has a unique role that only it fills.
And also,
as well as
it can do...
being a...
Oh, yeah.
It could do insane damage, especially in epics when you get the double damage on Greater Shout and stuff. It's just insane.
Mm-hmm. But, like, by itself, it's a self-contained tree that also synergizes with either of the other trees. But you can do everything you need in this tree, and it is perfect at its role. It has some of the most high-damaging spells in the game. It has some of the best healing, passive healing, so even if you die, your allies are still getting healed for oodles of health. Just ridiculous amounts.
And all the buffs that you gave them with the song as well. They just keep those, too.
Yep. I think it deserves that spot. So we gotta go Stalwart now. All right.
Which one? The fighter or the paladin?
Oh, Stalwart's fighter. So here's what I'm gonna do.
Oh,
and this is
Stalwart
gonna
fighter
sound weird.
goes to absolute garbage tier.
Stalwart fighter?
So Stalwart fighter goes into
you're thinking Vanguards.
roleplay. Oh, sorry, Stalwart fighter.
That's the defender.
Stalwart fighter goes into the... That's the average one.
It's going average. It's definitely going average. It's better than Tainted. It's better than TA at what it does. It's better than Ravager. I'd say it's the best of the average. Like, it is a chunky defensive tree.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I can't put it above Occult Slayer because I think Occult Slayers can fill more roles.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, but Occult Slayers can keep themselves up. They don't need a party to keep them up. That's the problem with the Stalwart Defender tank, is that it really doesn't have its own stay-alive mechanic. Last Stand is not good enough for that. It is simply not. It does heal it, but it does not heal it worth a damn. So it's not good enough for that.
No, and Occult Slayers can spend weapon bond, but it's not to mention the heal lamp that a barbarian has versus a fighter is insane.
Mm-hmm. Like, even Shintao could technically be a better tank because of its dodge. Because it can keep itself alive.
I was actually thinking about that, Like, what if you made a tank that was, like, 12 Monk, 4 Rogue, and 4 Ranger?
That's an interesting one. We might need to discuss
think about
that.
It, right? Because think about this, okay? You would have the dodge from the... you would have basically... You would go Vistani, right? You capstone Vistani, so you'd get the Vistani defensive buff, right?
Correct.
Then you would also have the Uncanny Dodge defensive buff, and you would have the Elaborate Parry defensive buff. So you could cycle through a rotation of those, basically having like 100% dodge.
That would be an interesting sort of like deflector build. It'd be really cool.
That's what I was brainstorming last night. I'm like, I want to be a completely different type of tank. What about this one?
I love how our Stalwart discussion just went on to Shintao. Poor Stalwart, they're so white.
Oh wait, I'd have a battle res too. I never thought of that.
But anyway, yeah, Stalwart, perfect there. It does what it does well. It's very obvious that I was surprising.
Its lack of immunity to getting negative leveled is actually the biggest thing holding it down.
That hurts it really bad. Well, its lack of resistances to a lot of things, like curses. Like Paladins get curse resistance. That's why Sacred Defender pops up there as well. They've got curse and disease. Their disease is also a lesser, or a greater resto, rather, at level 6 with another tree.
Yeah.
Like, they have such great synergy with their own trees. Stalwart has terrible synergy with its trees.
No, because one of them's like... We'll get into Vanguard later, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. I don't have much to say about Stalwart. It does AC well, which I actually think is one of the most difficult things to tank with in this game.
It's super average, but I made it work. All right, so we are at Swashbuckler.
Oh, to me, that's in the... It's somewhere between average and not good, to me.
I think it belongs in not good.
Every time I played it, I always thought it would have more impact than it ever ended up having.
All right, so here's my question. Have you ever played a mechanic? Fully through? Okay. Do you think it had more impact than a mechanic?
No.
Not really? I don't think so either,
because
I played a Swashy myself, and we noticed how bad my Swash performed compared to my mechanic, which also didn't perform very well. I feel like Swash is a really good
Swashbuckler was a single weapon fighter, right? Single weapon fighter, so we're apples to apples. I had a single weapon fighting paladin. Did it perform as good as that?
Not even close.
Did it perform in a way that was even comparable? No. And that's where, to me, and I've never played a bard that I felt had the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did have a bard idea. It mostly involves using the buckler, and the bucklers all they have the ability that when you crit, you daze things.
Yep.
And then
So
using the Shatterkai chain. Yeah. You Shatterkai chain AoE, and then you could daze everything. But see, this is getting propped up by Shatterkai and stuff. We're not even talking about...
By itself, it's a very bad tree. The core 2 gives it a deceptive appearance. It's a noob trap. And that's another reason I don't like it.
It's a decent... Yeah.
Like, the problem with this one, I think the biggest problem with Swashbuckler is that they're constantly limiting their crits. Like, some of their abilities will reduce the crit multiplier that they've got to increase the crit threat. Crit threat is always less than crit multiplier in value, especially for these guys. They tend to use very weak weapons, so and the stronger weapons, like a rapier, don't get benefits, really. So it's not like
how many times do you find yourself... Like, think about it. How many times do you find yourself kind of wasting points just to get even 6 points in there? Like you're taking tavern songs or something stupid.
Yeah, it's not a well-designed tree. That's the problem. It just, like, in terms of impact, it's not a well-designed tree. It just doesn't hit hard enough. It doesn't do enough. It synergizes with its other trees. Spellsinger synergizes pretty well because Spellsinger's great and synergizes with everything. But it's never going to beat those trees. It's never going to even compare. I think it belongs there.
Yeah, and I did a recent playtest of just using a bard with a two-handed weapon in the Warchanter tree, and it synergized better than Swashwood. Just for strike through, applying to the freezes.
Yep. Yeah, I think it belongs there. So we'll move on to Tempest.
Oh, that to me belongs firmly in the... It's good to amazing.
My experience with Tempest was before it got better, but I wasn't really great at it. That being said, I used a lot of Pally to help prop it up, and the Pally was what I eventually leaned on because it did not compare in any way at all.
Now, I did a recent one. It's definitely greatly helped by understanding favorite enemy mechanics. And how to abuse those to basically stack up another additional 20 deadly on a dual wielder, essentially. Part of my problem with it is actually I don't have very many of the top end scimitars. And I was using a magic fire scimitar that was doing 0 damage to a lot of demons and stuff like that. And it was just that was an oops on my part.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because before I ran into level 29 and put on that stupid garbage weapon that I will talk about maybe another day, it was performing really good. So it's definitely the second best dual wielder. I would say behind Assassin.
Yes, I think Assassin is your best dual wielder in the game. Tempest, I could put it at a low amazing. I can understand how it's good, and I can understand why you like it as much as you do. I think it beats Nature's Warrior in terms of single target damage. It has good AoE options.
Yeah, and I would like to mention that Assassin's only a better dual wielder because of the access to the number of sneak attack dice that rogues have.
Yes.
It's actually being greatly helped by that.
Yes. Since we've kind of factored in the class and the tree, because you kind of have to work with both in tandem, so I think class and tree Assassin is better than class and tree Tempest.
Yes.
But independently, I could see Tempest being a better damager than Assassin.